BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast. Thursday, the 5th of December. I'm Phil Goodlad. Here's what's on the agenda today.
Taylor's ball through is brilliant for Hatate, who scores! Celtic make the breakthrough! Just over 12 minutes left and the champions score! And finally break through the Aberdeen resistance. It is Hatate and it is Aberdeen 0, Celtic 1.
Celtic win a tough 3 points at a rain and wind swept Pittodrie. Also,
Tavernier right hand side cuts it back. That's another goal for Rangers, and it's another goal for Cyril Dessers, who sweeps it home. It's a double for the substitute. It's incredible stuff from Rangers tonight. It's Rangers 6, Kilmarnock 0.
Rangers hit Killie for 6. And
if your physio's on treating a guy that's got blood streaming out his mouth, he's got blood coming out his mouth, then quite clearly he's taking a blow to the face. And as I say, John doesn't agree with me. I call it playing God. You don't get to decide as an official what one's a bad knock to the head and what one isn't a bad knock to the head.
Stuart Kettlewell, unhappy after a third straight defeat.
The Scottish Football Podcast.
Great to have you along this morning, on the morning where we may get somebody to say the title race is over. That's going to be my objective for the next 15 minutes or so as Celtic sits 7 clear at the top. Lee Miller, former Aberdeen striker, joins us this morning. Lee, is the title race over?
Yeah, I would say so. I'll just throw it out there. Celtic are too good.
It's the sort of straight talking we like. Cillian Sheridan is also with us. Now, Cillian, I have a note here that says Cillian Sheridan has played for 2/3 of the Premiership teams who were in action on Wednesday night. Dundee, Motherwell, Kilmarnock and Celtic. So why did you not play for Aberdeen or Rangers?
Actually, I think I turned one of them down years ago. You can guess which one. But
No, I can't. Tell us all. Listen, is the league title over?
Yeah, I think it was over a few weeks ago, if not longer.
Genuinely?
Yeah, I don't think there was any. I think you could see within the first few weeks, and then you saw Celtic in Europe, and you're just like, yeah, they're playing at a different level to the rest of the league, I think. So
the morning after Celtic got beaten 50-0 in Dortmund, you thought, yeah, the league's over.
It was on here. I came on and I said, I liked what they done. They went and they had a go for it. I didn't think there was the panic stations needed at the time. And it was one of those things. The way they play against a team like as good as Dortmund, it could happen. And I like to say I've been proved right.
Yeah. Well done to you. The nation bows her head in honour. Listen, I love speaking to you guys as former players because I can always feel the itch. I can feel the burn within you because you'd love to be back out on the pitch. But be honest, Lee Miller, you were just delighted to be wrapped up in the warmth of your sitting room watching that game because it was a night where the bandwagon for summer football, we can just all get on. That was atrocious last night, the conditions.
It looked horrendous. I was obviously tuned into the Dundee Motherwell game as well as the Aberdeen Celtic. But I was just in from going to watch my son training down at Motherwell, so I was windswept and wonderful. No, the weather played havoc last night, but we got goals throughout the 3 games, which is great to see.
Yeah, and we'll get to all events at Danes Park and at Ibrox in just a moment. Let's start though at Pittodrie. And in a world of cliches when it comes to Scottish football, that, Cillian, was a performance that marks out champions, because that so easily could have ended 0-0, or Aberdeen could so easily have nicked a point at the end, but Celtic held on and I guess showed why they're 7 points clear at the top.
Yeah, it's one of those games that you get all the cliches afterwards. This dirty games that win you leagues and stuff like that. It's one that had to dig in and saying all that. The goal came from a bit of quality. Lovely little neat play, great pass. The finish from Hatate was brilliant. Aberdeen did have chances. They, even before Celtic had scored, I think did 1 or 2 good chances, and then even afterwards. So they'll probably be a little bit annoyed that they didn't take something from it. Given the conditions, you're almost looking at it thinking a draw here is not the worst result from Celtic's point of view. They've got that little bit of a cushion there where they're not really going to be under much pressure if they didn't pick up 3 points there. But just being able to do that, it probably dampens the spirits of Aberdeen as well when they're thinking, God, this team can come and like play dirty, or when the conditions aren't nice, they can still come and get results over us.
Yeah. Should there be a worry for Don's fans, Lee? That's now 4 without a win. The sort of the slick machine of the early part of the season now seems to be stuttering.
I don't think it's a worry because, like Cillian said there, they did have chances last night. Celtic defended well. They're just so good on the ball. They're so classy, and obviously in horrendous conditions up there, they still managed to conjure up an unbelievable goal. The pass, touch, finish is incredible. It's fitting to win any game. So in terms of Aberdeen fans, I think they will be in the back of their head a little bit like, are we going to win the next game? I spoke to a few, or I heard from a few on Twitter, and just saying how they're worried that Rangers are going to catch them. But they just, and I'm sure Jimmy Tilley will tell the players as well and keep harping on about, it's just the next game. It's not about where they're finishing the table, where they're in the table just now, fighting for the league. It's not about that. It's about every game. It's the oldest cliche in the book, but I think he's done that really well this season. But just need to win the next game, that's all.
Would it be right, Cillian, to say that Greg Taylor changed the game for Celtic? I was sitting last night with all the array of talent that Celtic had on the pitch, and I kept coming back in that second half to just how well Greg Taylor was playing.
Yeah, I think all the subs made an impact coming in. Obviously, Greg Taylor sets up the goal. Luke McCowan came in, done well as well. He kind of continued his form. And even Adam Ida as well up front. It looked like a horrible game to play as a lone centre forward there. Like, balls coming up, the winds blowing it all over the place. But yeah, I think you probably could say he changed the game, considering he came in, sets the goal up. It's a great pass, great assist, and it probably he deserved it as well. Like, he's maybe been a bit unlucky to drop out of the team. So I think that's the other thing it shows Celtic. The players now that are coming in have all gotten up to speed and kind of gotten into their roles of coming in and being impact players. There's no one kind of sitting around feeling sorry for themselves. Everyone's in and straight on us, helping the team straight away.
Just so that I can get the time code for when you say this, you are both genuine in saying that that's the league title done. Celtic 7 clear of Aberdeen, 11 clear of Rangers, Celtic with a game in hand in Aberdeen. It's done. The 4th of December was when title 24-25 was won.
Yeah, I think so. I just can't see past Celtic. They're, like Cillian said there, the strength and depth in their squad. And it's, like you say, they're not feeling sorry for themselves. They're coming out and they know they need to be up to speed to compete for positions, because it is competition for places. It's not as if one goes out, one comes in, and it's not the same strength. Their quality throughout their team, and you look at their bench, they can turn it within minutes. And I think they're just so strong. I don't think anybody can compete with them in the league.
From Pittodrie to Ibrox, a lot of nudge, wink, sort of seaside humour around the back pages this morning after Rangers beat Kilmarnock 6-0. The joy of 6 for Phil is one of the headlines. Phil shows his 6 appeal is the other one. What we probably could say is that for this season, everybody was wrong, and Philippe Clement's just the best manager on the planet because his team blew Kilmarnock away last night, Cillian.
Yeah, it's fair play for the headline writers. No, I think it'll relieve. I don't know if it relieves a bit of pressure on him, because it's a mixture of Rangers haven't been to where they need to be, and Celtic are so far ahead. It makes anything they do miles off it. They're just playing at different levels at the minute. I've kind of been of the thinking that Rangers seem to do well in Europe because I think there's a different pressure on them, as in there isn't really pressure. They're not going and expected to win these games in Europe against away to good teams Whereas back here in Scotland, they're expected to win every week. And I just don't think they've really handled that pressure put on them. Maybe now I don't know if it feels as if I don't think pressure comes off you playing for those clubs, but I think they know they're out of the race. I don't think anyone there believes that they can go and win the title. So it's not that it's irrelevant going and winning 6-0 at home. It's good for them probably confidence-wise, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really... Like, they've won 6-0 and we're still here saying the title's done.
And do you think that players at Ibrox already know that the title is done?
I think it's hard not to. I mean, you'll come out and say no, still believe game by game, but realistically, yeah.
Do you not think you're just a bit annoyed that you turned Rangers down all those years ago and you could have made it 5 out of 6 teams last night that you played for?
Presumptuous thinking on the guessing there.
Lee, I spoke to my daughter's school lollipop man yesterday, because this is the world we now live in, to get my football analysis from him, big Rangers fan. And he was saying, he says, could be a dirty night at Ibrox, Kilmarnock a stodgy team, Rangers stuttering, the weather, fans could get on their back. And he was actually quite concerned. And then midway through the second half, when Rangers were playing like Barcelona and were 4-0 up, I just wondered what he must have been thinking at that point, because that was, I think Philippe Clement was calling it a statement win. Not just the manner of scoring 6 goals, but actually the fact that they were at it throughout the whole game.
But that's been the problem with Rangers, the inconsistency. I speak to clients every day, Rangers and Celtic fans, and the Rangers fans are really worried because they don't know which Rangers will turn up. When they turn up like that, they will blow teams away. When their players are on form and the crowd gets behind them. I don't know how Kilmarnock were last night, but it seems to be that Rangers battered them. I've not heard any interviews or anything like that, but to win 6-0 at home, you're going away a happy Rangers fan, aren't you?
Yeah. Derek McInnes, the Kilmarnock manager, is labelling that second half performance from his side pitiful. And Derek McInnes is a manager that doesn't openly criticise his players. So I think we can take his word for it that Kilmarnock's second half wasn't great. A word on Kilmarnock. I mean, we have Hibs and we have Hearts at the bottom of the table. Or I should say we have Hearts and we have Hibs, because woe betide I get them wrong, that Hearts is bottom and Hibs is not now. But Kilmarnock are not that far away. And I think there was a feeling that after their excursions in Europe earlier in the season, that Kilmarnock would get back into their flow like they did last season. It's not happened yet for them.
No, I think it's everyone looking at it, you think that the teams that are down at the bottom, you've kind of thought all season it's a matter of time before all of them start climbing up the table. And it's one of those, the longer you're down there, the confidence just kind of itches away at you and you're like, God, maybe we're not getting out of this. And then every week that goes on that you're still hovering down there and you're struggling to pick up wins, or you're getting losses like that Kilmarnock did last night, and especially the way they did lose the game, it kind of, that's the hard ones to get over that. And it's just one of those, the longer you stay down there, it just drags on, and it just itches away at your confidence week by week. And you start to think, once you go down 1-0 in a game, you start to think, oh no, here we go again. So it's you really need to get out of it as quickly as you can. And at the end of the day, you're there on merit. It doesn't matter what you've done last season or if you had European qualifiers. If you're not added in the league every week, then you're going to be where you deserve.
Lee, Dundee, Motherwell. I shouldn't be asking you about any team up against Motherwell for the reasons that we speak about nearly every week with Lennon currently at the moment. Tony Docherty's saying after the game that he now sees a maturity in his side, and he's been working with the team all season. He called them a work in progress, but last night that work in progress started to mature.
Yeah, in terms of the game, like, Motherwell started the better team. Dundee score against the run of play. Motherwell go back up the pitch and score. I would have probably said Motherwell edged it first half. Second half, was 7 minutes of craziness. They scored 3 goals in 7 minutes and kills the game. But I think, listening to Stuart Kettlewell, he was annoyed. Obviously, the second goal comes from a corner, 4, and Kofi Balmer goes down with a head knock. Possibly the game should have got stopped. Was rolling about in the ground, and then they got up the pitch and score. And then I don't know what happened to Motherwell. They're just it's that point in games. They just, everything that could go wrong goes wrong. Deflections are going in. They're not getting decisions right. And it's just one of those things you keep thinking, oh, it'll turn. It eventually will, but you don't want it to be too late. It's one of those things, everything that could go wrong last night went wrong for Motherwell.
That's 4 out of the last 5 that Motherwell have lost. I think it's 7 goals now in 2 games as well. So last night, if everything went wrong that could go wrong, that wasn't a one-off, because they're amid a poor run at the moment, like we've seen before with Motherwell under Stuart Kettlewell, and he's received a lot of praise for the way that he got out of that bad spell last season and he got Motherwell playing really well again. Will there be a danger, almost like a post-traumatic stress, that Motherwell has been here before and this feels like they're in a bad run again?
Yeah, possibly. Stuart Kettle's a very good manager, and he did turn it round. He was allowed to have that time, which I totally agree with. But teams go through ruts like that. You have to pull your sleeves up and dig in and get together as a group. And they have got a really good group. Motherwell, I know that for a fact. And I hope and I think they will get through it, this bad run. But they just need to work their socks off.
A word on Dundee, Killie, and Tony Docherty done a fine job at Dines Park. They're up into the top 6, but they're now playing football as a team that know what they're about. It's not, as he said, a project anymore. He was speaking about how his side are maturing into what he wants them to be on the park.
Yeah, I think probably their biggest issue was just throwing away points. There's been numerous games, I think maybe more so last season, but this season there's been a few where in winning positions, doing well, and then out of nowhere they're coming away with a draw or losing the game. So I don't know if that's maybe the maturity he's talking about, where they can see out games or they can see out spells of pressure. I think the other thing maybe is that kind of nucleus of young players that they have. Lyle Cameron, Josh Mulligan now's come in, Finn Robertson's come into the team, that those guys have kind of stepped up and they're not really seen as just young players anymore, that they kind of are taking on the responsibility of, right, you're now a first team player, it doesn't matter what age you are, kind of thing. But great result for them last night, saw the highlights, and even listening to Lee there about the game, you kind of wouldn't have. It's funny when you watch the highlight, you get a different viewpoint of the game. You're watching it thinking Dundee would have battered them, but it sounds as if it wasn't really that case. But maybe that's the games that Tony Docherty is talking about, when maybe they're not completely on top of the game, but they're managing to get a result.
A word on Dundee after Luke McCowan. I mean, I know this sounds silly because it's been a few months since he left Dundee, but are we now starting to see a team that's adapting to life without their star man, without that central midfield sort of dominance that he brought to Dundee sides? Yeah,
but I think they've got players that need to step up. Like Cillian says there, they've got Cameron, they've got Mulligan, they've got Finlay Roberts, they've got players that want to take the game by the scruff of the neck. And I'm maybe doing Dundee a disservice because they did play some really good football in really difficult conditions, and they score some good goals. I'm looking at, obviously, from a Motherwell point of view, it's bad goals to concede, but from a Dundee point of view, they were good. And players like that, it's young Scottish players that are doing really well for Tony Docherty. He's getting the best out of them, and they've seemed to have stepped up to the plate. Obviously, McCowan going to Celtic, he was a really influential player, but they've managed to step into that role, and it looks seamless now. It looks as if Luke McCowan wasn't there, to be honest, because they're getting so much joy throughout that midfield rotation.
Listen, I'm impressed that I've got a couple of straight shooters on this morning. That you're calling it as you see it. So I want to continue that because I've got the league table in front of me. So the league title is done. You say that, and we have it the 4th of December. The league title was done. Will Aberdeen finish second, Cillian?
Yes.
Lee, will Aberdeen finish second?
Yeah, I'm the same. I think they will, only because Rangers are in Europe. I don't think they've got the squad to cope with that. I think they'll have injuries, suspensions leading up to that, and Aberdeen have a really good squad and they know what they're all about, and I think they will grind it out, and I think they will finish second, yeah.
Dundee leapfrogged into the top 6, leapfrogging Motherwell. Will Dundee stay in the top 6, Cillian?
Yeah, I think they can, yeah. I think they had a bad start to the season and now have, like you're saying, got over losing Luke McCowan. Other guys have stepped up and I think they've kind of got themselves through that patch. So I think they can, yeah.
Lee, will Motherwell stay in the top 6?
I hope so. They're obviously in a bad run just now, but you look at the cluster of teams round about that, there's a lot of good teams. You've got Hearts and Hibs that I think will go on runs, so they'll start creeping up the league. So there's a cluster of teams, Motherwell, St Mirren, Ross County, St Johnstone, Kilmarnock, that just now they're probably looking around about them to see who's going to drop points, who's going to gain. They need to start winning games. They obviously need to concentrate on themselves, winning games, but they'll start to look around about them to see, right, we need to get a bit of breathing space from whoever's below us or whatever. So it's an interesting one.
You want to give us any update on the multi-million pound move for El Miller?
Absolutely not. He's enjoying his football.
I had to ask. 2 more questions. Cillian, Kilmarnock, they are 3 points above Hearts at the bottom of the table. Will they be okay, or will they be sucked into the relegation battle?
I think they'll be okay. I think they are. You have to look at where you are in the table. They're in a relegation battle at the minute. If you're down there, that's what you're in. I think they probably have a team that would be up for a relegation fight. I think they'd be the kind of team I'd back more to get out of that than possibly other teams who wouldn't be used to being in that position or being prepared to being in that position, like Hibs and Hearts, I think. So I do fancy Kilmarnock to get themselves out of it.
And Lee, Hearts sit bottom, 2 points marooned at the bottom. Will they remain there?
No, I don't think they will. It's not a case of panic stations yet, but the longer it goes and you keep getting beat and you're drawing games, you need to start winning games. And they have got a really good squad, Hearts and Hibs, to get themselves out of the rut.
So if you're both bold in telling me who wins the title, be bold on the 5th of December, who gets relegated? 1 word answer, Cillian.
Ross County.
Lee.
I swear I was going to say the same thing, but it's 2 words.
I wanted to get it in quick.
Can I just say that anybody listening in Dingwall, we will post the address of Mr. Sheridan and Mr. Miller for Christmas cards to them. Guys, listen, thank you very much indeed. It's all we've got time for, unfortunately. Cillian Sheridan and Lee Miller joining us today on the Scottish Football Daily podcast. Lots to speak about, isn't there? Is this the pod that the title has been won and that we can all reflect on the night that Celtic beat Aberdeen to get their hands on the Premiership title? We'll wait and we'll see. Remember, every day the Scottish Football Daily podcast drops for you at BBC Sounds. Go searching for it there or stick on your notifications, and when it drops, your phone will give a ping and hey presto, you'll be able to hear us. For now though, enjoy the beautiful game. I'm Phil Goodlad and we'll speak again soon.
This is the shocking moment English football has been dreading.
My name is Moses Swabu and I used to be a professional footballer, but then I got in deep with organised crime and became a match fixer operating in the English League.
A match-fixing investigator has highlighted 2 matches he says appear to have suspicious betting patterns.
How honest are you going to be with me?
This is 100%. Join me for Sports Strangest Crimes presents Confessions of a Match Fixer. Listen on BBC Sounds.